Hi guys, and welcome here at Breakthrough Capital. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to cover what do these charts mean and how do we trade the arrows that we see on the charts. Okay, so first of all, you have the pound USD pairs right over here. Okay. And then we have our pound JPY over here. Okay, and then you also have the USD CAD over here. Okay, so you got 3 different pairs on 5 different time frames. Okay, so the time frames is going to be the 1 minute charts, and you can tell because you see the 1 minutes over here. Okay, and then you have your 5 minute charts, and you can also tell because of the 5M over here, and then you also have your 15-minute charts. Okay, so as you can see, 15M, 15 minutes, and these are what you call your shorter term time frames. Okay, so if you look to your right, you're also going to see your 30-minute charts and your 1 hour charts. And you can tell because you can see a 30M and a 1H. Okay, so 30M, 1H, and 30M and 1H. Okay, so how do we trade these charts, these pairs, with all these arrows pointing up and down? Okay, it's actually very straightforward. What you want to do first, okay, is we start with the longer terms. Okay, and what you're going to be looking for is a white, pink, or super arrow. Okay, so this is a white arrow. Okay, and this is a super arrow where it's got a pink and a white inside. Okay, over here you have another super arrow. Okay, and then over here, super arrow, and you give a white arrow over here. Okay, we're actually going to be ignoring the blues. This is for the blue arrows are for a completely different strategy. So for right now, we're just going to be focusing on white, pink, or super arrows on the longer term charts. Okay, so let's start with the USD CAD. Okay. And if we look careful over here, the USD CAD had a white arrow pointing back quite some time ago. Okay, that's the last white, pink, or super arrow. Not the blue, we're ignoring the blues, just the white, pink, or super arrows. Over here, so that you start with the 1 hour. You always start with the longer terms. Okay, look for the last white, pink, or super arrow. Then we go to the 30-minute chart, and we look for the last white, pink, or super arrow in the same direction as the 1 hour chart. Okay, so in this case, we're only looking for a buy, okay, for an up signal on the 30-minute chart. Okay, so the last up signal that we had on the USD CAD on the 30-minute chart is clearly pointing up. Okay, so this now gives us permission to be only taking buys on the USD CAD. Okay, so now we have it's called a bias. What's your bias? Okay, our bias is clearly up. We're only looking for buys. Okay, so that's our bias on USD CAD. Once you have a bias, once you have figured out what direction that you're going to be trading for the day, step number 2 is you go to the 15-minute charts, which is over here. Okay, and we're looking for arrows in the same direction as the longer term bias. Because these arrows are pointing up, we are only interested in looking for up arrows, period. Okay, we're going to be ignoring every single white, pink, or super arrow to the downside. We're only looking for the buys, okay, in the same direction as the longer term bias. Okay, so first you have your bias, and then you go to the 15-minute chart and you're looking for a brand new 15-minute arrow up in the same direction as your bias. Okay, so let's actually take a look at this and find out the time. This is at 7 o'clock. Okay, and at 7 o'clock you also had a 30 minutes up arrow over here. So that means at 7 o'clock what we're doing is we're going to be looking for brand new 15-minute arrows up. Okay, so your first brand new super arrow, or white, pink, or super arrow up, is over here, and that happened at 10:45. Okay, so now we go over here at 10:45. Okay, let's go scroll back all the way to 10:45, and we're looking to see if there is a 5-minute arrow, if the last 5-minute arrow was also pointing up at 10:45. Okay, so in this case, this is 10:45. The last arrow that closed was pointing up. Okay, so now let's go to the 1-minute chart, and this is where we're going to be entering most of our trades. Okay, actually, in fact, all of these trades will be entered off the 1-minute chart with this particular strategy. Okay, so here we go. We're going to go to the 10:45, and what do we see? At 10:45 is over here. Okay, here's what you're looking for on the 1-minute chart. Number one, it needs to be trending up. Okay, this only counts if you're going to be trending up. So what that means is the orange line needs to be above the blue line. Okay, so over here, the orange line is above the blue line. Okay, that's trending up. Over here, the orange line is completely above the blue line. You're pointing it trending up. Okay, so now let's go back to the 1-minute chart. Over here, the orange line is above the blue line. Okay, so now we're looking for entries because we have full permission to be taking buys. Because of your brand new 50-minute up, because of the 5-minute up, now we have permission to be taking this for a buy. Okay, now we have 3 different entries, and that's going to be in a video only for members. Okay, so if you want to learn how the 3 different ways of entering are, then you're going to have to sign up as a member to watch that video and to see how we enter our trades. But for a quick example's sake, okay, you can enter here, your stop loss will be here, entry will be here, and your take profit will be here. We call that a 1-to-1 trading system. Okay, so that's one of the 3 entries. I'm giving one away for free right now, is the 1-to-1s. Okay, so that was an example of a 1-to-1. You had one over here. Okay, entry, stop loss, and take profit, a quick 1-to-1, and as well you have a 1-to-1 over here. Okay, now this is a unique case because in this case you actually would have been a break even. Okay, so went high enough where you didn't hit your take profit, which is over here, but you did get your trade to break even. Okay, with the 1-to-1s. With our other trading entries, you would have won this trade as well. Okay, so that's a very quick example of how we trade the trending system. So let's take a look over here. This is at 12:55. So let's just say at 13 o'clock. Okay, so 13 o'clock, we'll go over here, and the last 5-minute arrow was pointing up, as you can see. Let's look over here, 13 o'clock. Yes, the last 15-minute arrow is pointing up. We also have a trend, okay, over here. The orange line is above the blue. This is giving us full permission to be taking buys. And every single one of these arrows in this example turned out to be a nice buy. Okay? So again, let's start from the beginning. Okay, what do we look for? We look for our bias. What is the last white, pink, or super arrow on the USD CAD 1 hour? Okay, that is pointing up. The white, pink, or super arrow. Let's go over to the 30-minute chart. The last white, pink, or super arrow is also pointing up. This is telling us that we are only interested in ups. We are going to ignore every single sell. We're not going to take this for a sell. We're going to wait patiently until we see a up arrow. Okay? Then we'll look into getting into a trade. All right? Because our bias is up, we're only interested in taking this for buys. So let's take a look at the other pairs and find out the bias and trend over here. Okay? So let's go over to the pound JPY. The last white, pink, or super arrow that has closed is pointing down. This is a blue arrow. We're ignoring the blues. That's for a completely different strategy. Okay? So that one's pointing down. It's very clear. Let's take a look at the 30 minutes pound JPY. This is also pointing down. We have a super arrow pointing down. Now, some of you are wondering, what about this arrow that keeps appearing? Okay? It's not about the arrows that are on the living candle, this live candle here. It's the last one that's closed. Because as soon as this candle closes, okay, and this one opens, this arrow will never disappear. Okay? So that's why you have to wait for the candle to close and for this arrow to close and this new candle to open up. Okay? So here, our bias is very clear. It's to the downside. Okay? So we're only interested in looking for sells on the pound JPY. Okay? And that started at 18 o'clock. So 18 o'clock is over here. Okay? So here we are. We take our line. This is the last 15-minute arrow. Is in the same direction as our bias, which is only looking for sells. Okay, we're only looking for sells, and there is your sell right there. Okay, so now how do we take this information and apply it to the charts? Very simple. We go to the 5-minute, and at 1800, as you can see, 1800 at the bottom here. The last white, pink, or super arrow is also pointing down. I'll zoom in here. Okay, it's also pointing down. Okay, with a white arrow pointing down. So now let's go to the 1-minute charts, and as you can clearly see, okay, at 1800, which is over here, all of these arrows were successful. We have 3 different entries, okay, your 1-to-1s, your good price system, and your momentum trading. All 3 entries would have won. Okay, so that's quite a few trades we had just in this impulsive move to the downside. Okay, and we're just filtering out the best trade. We're waiting patiently, we're waiting very patiently just for the best trade to come. Okay, so that's what we do here. And if you're interested in learning more about the good price system and the momentum entries, then visit us at the breakthroughcapital.com, and we will show you in our videos and on our live trading exactly how we enter and so forth. So anyways, guys, thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next video. Benny J MT is out.